Hey guys, I have something that I want to say. This is a video that I did not plan on making at all, though it is a topic that has been relevant in the Kagurabachi community for quite a while now. I've tried to steer clear of it and I've never spoken about it publicly, but I'm going to be so honest right now. I've seen way too much men talking about it. I've seen enough of men talking about it on either side of the argument. I'm sick of it. It genuinely bothers me that the only discussion I see surrounding the women in Kagurabachi is about the misogyny discourse. It's all stuff that I've kept bubbling inside of me for way too long, but it's hit a point where it's just bursted out and I just have to get it out there. I can't take it anymore. Maybe it's the hiatus getting to me. Before we get into it, let me introduce myself. I'm Kalkan. They sometimes refer to me as the Kagurabachi girl of YouTube. I thought we'd establish that introduction before you hear me vent or rant, however you want to call it, for like way too long. If you haven't been here before, things aren't usually so tense around here. I usually keep it very fun, at least I like to think so. And I want to throw it out there right off the bat that I definitely don't want to come across as preachy or that my opinion is fact. It is absolutely not. This is just my own interpretations and feelings about the topic, and honestly, I just really want to bring attention to it all as a woman on this platform and as a woman with a platform in general. Here's some context if you don't know what I'm talking about. In December of 2025, chapter 104 of Kagurabachi came out. In that chapter, we get a slight glimpse into Yura's past to give some context for his actions in the present. It seems due to crime running rampant after the Seitai War ended and the enchanted blades were locked away, something happened that resulted in Yura's livelihood being destroyed, where everything was taken from him, his home, and his partner. And this is what radicalized Yura, giving him his motivation to start the Hishaku and bring order to Japan with the enchanted blades. At the time, what seemed to be a large portion of people actually had an issue with this chapter. They were bringing up the fact that once again, a woman has died in Kagurabachi to develop a man's character. They didn't like that Yura's partner, who was a nameless and faceless woman, had died, and that's what motivated him. The problem people had with it is that she doesn't have a character of her own, and her only presence in the story is that she died to impact Yura's character specifically. It was argued that Yura's wife is an example of the fridging trope, which, if you don't know what fridging is when a female character is brutally hurt or killed in order to motivate a male character. Fridging results in lazy writing because it's just a cheap way to generate angst and drama at the expense of women, killing them off simply as a plot device. With Yura's wife, other characters were brought up as concerns as well, and those characters are the Ice Lady from Hakuri's backstory and Inori. Then similar discussions were sparked back up when Chiaki Soga got introduced back in March of 2026, mostly the fear that she will be fridged eventually. And as the Seitai War arc continues, other concerns have popped up, like people claiming that she is nothing more than a love interest to Kunishige, and that is a detriment to her character and women representation as a whole. And there is also a fear that Hokusona will end up fumbling her themes of women's bodily autonomy. Me personally, my own personal experience, I don't have an issue with the way women are represented in Kagurabachi. I'm not personally bothered by the examples of fridging or potential fridging in Kagurabachi that people have raised concerns about. Nothing regarding the women in Kagurabachi gives me an ick, so to say. And that isn't because I usually glaze Kagurabachi 24/7. I swear it's not because of that. I've really sat and thought about this. I really have. I didn't even know what fridging was until December of 2025 when people started talking about it regarding chapter 104. I had no idea what it was. So it's taken a lot of educating and sitting on all of these problems to really come to these conclusions and also to finally sit down and talk about it. And just because it doesn't bother me personally, that doesn't mean that other women are invalid for feeling differently. If it rubbed you the wrong way, that's just how you feel. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You can't control how those things makes you feel. That's just how it happens. I've gotten that icky feeling with other media before where a woman dies and it feels just a certain type of way and it just really rubs you the wrong way. I've absolutely had that experience before. just not with Kagurabachi. And now to elaborate more, I can genuinely understand where people have an issue with Yura's partner in particular. Because yeah, currently she does not have a name, a face, a personality, anything of the sorts. All we know about her is that Yura loved her and that she seemingly died. I am pretty confident that this plot point will get elaborated on in the future, and this moment doesn't feel cheap to me in general, which I think is why it doesn't bother me. I think Yura's resolve here is effective because it's intertwined with Chihiro's story so much. It feels like it's more than his partner dying, and it's just about everything, the whole entire world. At least that's my interpretation of how this chapter went. That's not to say that this isn't fridging though, because it quite literally does fit the definition. I said it doesn't feel cheap to me, but that's more so in regards to Yura's character. It feels cheap for her character because she's not a character, you know what I mean? And now for Ice Lady, I can see why people have concerns here as well, because first off, we have to call her Ice Lady. Again, like Yura's partner, she doesn't have a name, but unlike Yura's partner, she does have a face, and she does have something to say. Her character carries a weight to it. I still think she can teeter into fridging territory if we go off of the definition as she was introduced and killed to further develop Hakuri's character. I do feel her character represents something more than that though, because it impacts Hakuri on the long term. It kind of has something to say about the world itself. His need to save people stems from her, and that doesn't feel cheap to me. Which is what I said about Yura's partner as well, technically, that she made an impact on him, that doesn't feel cheap to me. But I think the difference is that Ice Lady has a face and she says lines, she has a whole chapter dedicated to her, and it's just the themes that are further developed than Yura's partner. But again, that one's definitely iffy as well. With Inori, I will say I just don't think she fits the definition of it at all, really. Sure, she died, but she has a meaningful impact on the story. It's a lot more than just dying to generate cheap, quick angst, because it's not just angst that is brushed past. Her influence not felt at all. She is very intertwined in both Samura and Iori's character, which it is important to note that it does impact Iori a lot because it's not just dying to develop like a man, right? It's also a woman is being just as impacted, if not even more impacted. Iori seems to reference her a little bit more. You feel Inori's presence a little bit more in Iori than you do Samura, I think. I also think that Inori represents a unique role in the story, which is a divorced single mother. I'm a child of divorce, so I find her character super fucking cool, to be honest. I like that place in the story where there's room for that. I think that's pretty sick. I also just think her death is really well done as well. I cry every time I revisit those chapters, genuinely. But either way, people are absolutely entitled to feel the way they feel about those characters and their circumstances around their deaths. These discussions have actual meaning and value. Or I should say they used to until Chiaki got introduced. This is the part of the video where I'm going to start to get annoyed, so apologies in advance. I want to throw this out there super quickly. I truly do understand people's worry of a man properly tackling the topic of women's bodily autonomy. Trust me, I'm a woman, I understand the concern. People are allowed to express being uncomfortable with the topics touched on with her as well. There's some very serious topics surrounding her. Brace yourself, everybody, here comes the but of all of this. But I don't think making an issue of it or making accusations about any of it currently at this very moment is fair or even reasonable at all, because Chiaki's story is very far from being over. I've noticed, at the fault of people on both sides of this argument, that all of the doom posting about Chiaki's potential outcome has diminished any actual real important discussions when it comes to representing women. Because there's no point to actually make. There's literally nothing to actually say at all. As of chapter 125, when I am making this video. It all feels like, I hate to say it, it all feels like if and when but never is. You know what I mean? It's just the potential of it all. Oh my god, I'm such a chud. Seriously though, I do think her character has already beaten the fridging allegations, even if she does end up dying in the Seitai War arc. There's already enough depth there. She's her own character with real feelings and impacts and all those things. And there's going to be more depth for her as well that's going to continue. She's going to grow as a character. If she dies, she's a character. She's an actual character. And I'm not even going to bother elaborating on the what ifs any further than that, because there's genuinely no point in me doing that, because as I said, nothing has actually happened yet. So even outside of her themes of autonomy and fears of her being fridged, a lot of the same people who already have a problem with Hokuzono diving into these themes are also mad that Chiaki has a romantic love interest. I don't know why it's surprising to people that Chihiro's mom is in fact in love with Chihiro's dad. Who would have thought? Sorry, that sounds so petty. I told you I was going to get annoyed. But it's just crazy that I even have to say that. It's crazy. It's not misogynistic to give a woman a male love interest. Some food for thought, right? Women can do whatever they want. Women don't have to be put in a box. They don't have to get married. They don't have to have kids. But it's also not wrong for a woman to do those things either, if that's what she wants. What's important is that women have the right to choose. I have seen some downright egregious takes when it comes to people discussing Chiaki that are supposedly pro-women. Because Hokuzono is not reducing Chiaki's character down to only being a love interest for Kunishige. And whoever claims that that is what Hokuzono is doing, you've gone full circle in the fight against misogyny, because you are the one reducing her down to that. And here's a message to men on either side of this argument. Stop speaking over women. I am over men speaking in the place of women about women's issues, or telling women how they should feel about how they are represented. Stop. Some people really don't have bad intentions. Some men truly do care about women's issues and women getting represented properly, which of course is appreciated. But if you truly care about uplifting women, retweet women talking about their concerns. At least quote tweet women if you've really got to get it out there with your own wording, but then you're still ensuring the women that you agree with are being appropriately heard. I doubt that will even need to happen though, because honestly, the way it comes off to me is performative, to be so honest with you. I saw men banger farming back in December about the Yura's partner fridging discourse, supposedly caring about women being represented, but you're farming likes in a sarcastic meme format in the fight against misogyny. How that comes off to me is you don't actually care about women's issues, and you just wanted to hop on the bandwagon because you wanted likes. And for men who don't agree with the whole fridging and misogyny arguments, it's not really your place to say it. Have we considered this? That doesn't mean you can't say anything at all. Like I said, some people genuinely have good intentions. But just know, even with the best of intentions, you do run the risk of coming off a certain way, and I've seen it happen. As someone who has been silently lurking for, 7 months, 8 months, through all of this, like I said, I haven't spoken about this publicly once. This is all coming from a perspective of just watching this all unfold. There's multiple defenses people take while arguing against the people who are concerned about how women are represented in Kagurabachi. I want to clarify again that women are absolutely entitled to feel however they feel towards how they are represented. But I do think it's fair to have evidence against any claims that state feelings like fact, in the sense of, for example, someone straight up calling Hokuzono misogynistic. But also against anything, you know what I mean? People have their own opinions. It's not wrong to formulate reasons in your brain against it. So let me talk about some of those defenses against it. Like I mentioned earlier, fridging comes at the expense of women, but I and a lot of others feel that any of the deaths of women in Kagurabachi have a weight to them, and the text can support that. Another defense in regards to women's representation in general is that Hokuzono does include themes that are empowering to women. Kiri's story is feminist. She is very forward with her feminism. Chiaki's themes of bodily autonomy as well, which of course, again, could be fumbled. They could be what ifs and all of the things. But the fact that they are there at all does say something, because he's not endorsing taking freedom away from women. I think it's fair enough to point out that Hokuzono does have themes of feminism. Another defense that I see quite often, this is probably the most popular one, is that men in Kagurabachi die a lot as well. It's not just women, which is true, but I don't think this is the best angle to take, really. When we're looking at death of characters through this lens, specifically in the sense of fridging, men and women dying are not the same thing. The circumstances around Kunoshige's death and Yura's partner's death is not the same thing. It's just not. But I do think it is fair to acknowledge that death is a major part of Kagurabachi in general. A lot of characters do die. And that does impact a lot of characters in the story, their motivations. I think that's a fair thing to point out. One defense that I don't ever see floating around, but I feel personally, is the lack of sexualization of the female characters in Kagurabachi. It's something that I really appreciate about it. One defense I see sometimes in regards to women's representation is that Shonen Jump is for young boys. And I don't like this argument at all because it's not a defense against anything. It's just an excuse. Like, sure, Shonen Jump's target demographic for the magazine is still young boys, but it's not wrong for women to want good or even just passable representation considering we are half the population. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be a big ask, even in Shonen Jump. Like, for example, in the year of our Lord, the big 2-6, One Piece is still making perverted jokes about men wanting to see women's panties. I don't think it's a big ask to expect better, even if it is a magazine for boys. Sure, that joke wasn't really frowned upon in the early 2000s. It is now, just generally. And of course, there's nothing as egregious as that in Kagurabachi. But my point still stands. Even if I don't have an issue with the way women are represented in Kagurabachi specifically, there is always room for improvement, both just in the series and also in the whole fucking magazine. When there's other arguments you can make using the actual source material of Kagurabachi, I think Shonen Jump is a boys' magazine is kind of a weird hill to die on. There's two more things I want to quickly address. One, I want to address the concern people have about female characters getting sidelined, and I want to address an issue some people have that not enough women are named in Kagurabachi. How I feel about these things is that these issues are not exclusive to only women, which I know I just said men and women dying in this context is not the same thing. But when it comes to the sidelining thing and the name thing, I genuinely think it is just on the same level. The name thing is a problem with Kagurabachi in general, but I think Hokusono has gotten better about it. I kind of have a unique perspective about it from having to talk about Kagurabachi in video format, because it's very hard sometimes to talk about certain things in videos when you don't have names, and this used to be way bigger of an issue. I've run into multiple problems with it on a YouTube perspective, which I'd imagine most of you watching are not YouTubers, so I guess you're just gonna have to trust me when I say that it is an issue for both male and female characters. And then about the sidelining thing, I fear sometimes that's just how stories function. Some characters are needed at certain times, some aren't. The biggest complaint I see about sidelining is Hiyuki. Like, people say that she was sidelined after the Rakuzaiuchi, but another big complaint I see in general about Kagurabachi is that there was way too many characters past the Rakuzaiuchi, specifically in Kaminabe headquarters, which obviously would be a very appropriate place for Hiyuki to show up. But if a big complaint about that arc is that there was too many moving pieces in it already, with not enough things getting properly fleshed out because there was just so much going on. If Hiyuki was involved on the raid in the Kaminabe headquarters, she wouldn't have gotten the proper time and fleshing out that she needed. And in that case, we run into a similar issue of bringing her back, but giving her nothing to work with. I feel like it's a very double-edged sword there. Like, no matter what, we're just screwed. You know what I mean? At least Hokusono had her in mind and gave her a canon reason not to be there, which was because she was with the Pink Bear regarding her. I feel like both of those things, naming and sidelining, is just a sake of... That's how the story works, unfortunately. At least that's how I feel. To wrap things up, I think it is valuable to look at things through certain lenses occasionally, like I just did in this video. But if you never take that lens away, I think it becomes harmful. There's more to stories than just how one specific thing is handled, especially in this case when there really isn't much harm done, but that's the only thing some people fixate on. I think that's really limiting to the story and the characters as a collective. And I also want to say that at the end of the day, people are allowed to criticize the series that you like and that they like. And even if you disagree, that doesn't mean you have to publicly shame them. People are so quick to be cruel in the name of positivity. And on that note, I'm done. Oh my god. This is a scary one, guys. I'm not gonna lie. This is a crazy video to come back with. Holy shit. I've been gone for like 3 weeks. The first thing I did was sit down and talk about discourse. Guys, I'm kind of shaking in my boots. I'm not gonna lie. Truly, I didn't say any of this to call out anybody in particular, and I really am sorry if someone does feel targeted. I swear that I really do just think this is a community-wide issue that I just needed to talk about at this point because I had to get it off my chest. I've been literally lurking for, like I said, 8 months. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I hope there was some value in me sitting down and saying all this. I hope that this was insightful for some people. Hopefully that's what I was going for. If I came off a certain way, I really am sorry. I try to be very careful about most of this stuff. I know it's a very touchy territory and I genuinely don't want to upset anybody, but I'm sure it probably did for somebody. But I tried my best. And I may sound like a total hypocrite for saying that I hate that this discourse is the only thing people talk about when talking about Kagurabachi women, and then that is indeed all I talked about. So I do want to say where this video idea even came from in the first place, which was I was actually working on a positive video about each women in Kagurabachi and giving them spotlight, but then I just felt that there was a huge elephant in the room that just needed to be addressed. In this video, I said my piece about it, so then in the future, on that video, I can generate different positive conversations about the female characters. I don't plan on ever touching this discourse ever again. I really hope I don't have to. If I do, it would probably be in a chapter video, I guess, because that's when it would be relevant. I'm not making, certainly not anything like this again. Whew. So I guess keep your eyes peeled about that positive video about the Kagurabachi women. It'll come eventually. I'm gonna guess in like 1 to 2 months or something like that, maybe in the fall. Unintentional self-promo there, I suppose, but now let me just actually do that. Subscribe! Yeah! Feels crazy to say after a video like this. Subscribe, guys! Yeah! We're being real enthusiastic now. Subscribe, like this video, please. Don't dislike it. Oh god. I'm scared. I hope this is all received okay. Comment down below as well, but again, I'm a little nervous about this one, so let's keep things civil if you think I'm fucking stupid. I don't know. I feel like as a woman, I had a space to talk about these issues because it relates to me. So, I don't know, I think I'm valid for however I feel. Which is why, at the end of the day, I was comfortable enough to sit down and make this video. We'll be back for a more fun topic on Sunday! This Sunday, chapter 126, we're back! Bachi's back from the break! Clearly we need it. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.